Honestly, I think even if I had some of the lenses, like the high-end lenses that I want, I still think I would always come back to shooting with this lens. I don't know. There's something about it that's just super enjoyable to me, and I think I'll always end up coming back to. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video, another week. Before we jump into things again, I just really want to quickly remind you, I've launched a iOS icon pack. This is super minimalist style. If you didn't already know, iOS 14 lets you customize app icons now. So I've released a pack, 90 plus different icons in 3 different minimalist styles. You get full lifetime access, and any updates down the line, you'll get access to as well. So if that's something you're interested in, link is in the description. Appreciate anyone who checks that out. Anyway, into the video. This week, I'm talking about, I guess, my favorite lens, or what every photographer should have in their arsenal, or every photographer needs this, and that is the 50mm lens, or also known as the Nifty 50. Not that I came up with that name, but this is the Canon 50mm lens, 1.8 aperture. It is by far my favorite lens. I have the most fun shooting with it. It's super portable, takes up no space, super enjoyable just to use, and I really think like every photographer should have this, new and old, and that kind of gets me into things. So my first thing I want to talk about is the fact that a lot of people always are asking, what lens should I buy first? Should I get a super expensive, save up, get an expensive lens? What's the best lens to get as your first lens after the kit lens? And I mean, I asked this question, I googled it, spent days looking it up, looking up different things, and the 50mm definitely came up. But at the time, I actually decided to buy the 10 to 18mm. I have it over here. Yeah, I actually ended up buying the Canon 10 to 18mm wide angle lens, and this was purely for the fact that I was doing more video back when I first got into my photography. I was like experimenting with both, and I wanted a lens that was a bit better for videography, so I kind of got that first, and then I picked up the 50mm next. Now, looking back, I do wish I picked up the 50mm first, mainly because I enjoy it so much now and I wish I had it sooner. So when I first started photography, I was in the city, often indoors or between buildings, not a lot of sunlight, often did night shoots as well. This was great for that, great for low light photography, super handy for that. So if that's something you do, definitely consider picking one of these up. I think the other big thing about this and why I love it is it's so small, and I know this sounds silly in a way of why you would love a lens, but it's so small and it feels cheap. And I know you're thinking, why would I buy a lens that feels cheap and doesn't feel well constructed? That's actually a benefit in my eyes, because it's so cheap and because it feels the same, like it feels its value. And don't get me wrong, like it's got a metal mount on the back, so super robust. You can chuck it on and off. You're not going to worry about it breaking. I know people have dropped these and like they've survived and from pretty good heights. Obviously, don't chuck it off a cliff and don't run it over a car, but it'll survive some beating. And I think that's why it's great, because it's so cheap for a lens. And don't get me wrong, it's £100, but 100 quid for a lens is cheap. I think because of that, you have no worry about using it. You will chuck it on your camera, you'll throw it around, you'll make use of it to its full ability and get into places with it, because you're not worried that you're going to break a really expensive lens. Like, you're not being careful with it, which sometimes, in my opinion, when you get careful about tech and you spend a lot of money and then people don't want to break that tech because in a lot of cases you can't afford to replace it, you kind of don't push yourself to make full use of said tech, if that makes sense. So like, if I had a £3,000 lens on the front of my camera, I'm not going to be shoving it into plants or like hanging over the edge of it, like camera in one hand over the edge of a building or something. Like, I'm not gonna risk dropping my camera because I'm gonna break a £3,000 lens, whereas if I have this on, I'm only gonna break a £100 lens. Make sense? Which then takes me on to another point of why I wish I got this first. This 50mm lens has definitely pushed me to learn my photography more, and learn the craft of photography more, I guess you could say. It's really pushed me to improve my photography and my skills. When you're limited to a 50mm lens, prime lens, no zoom, it's got really wide aperture, so you can be really creative and get the blurry backgrounds that everyone loves. It's definitely helped me improve my composition. I can see photos with, before taking the picture, I can picture how creatively I want a photo to look because I understand the lens more. I understand how my camera works more now. I've got much better at understanding ISO, aperture, shutter speed. I've learnt the settings better using just a 50mm basic lens than I had the whole time before getting one of these. So I think that's why it's really great for beginners, because it really helped accelerate my skill level. Now, one thing to consider, I have a Canon 100D, which is not a full frame camera. So it is a cropped sensor with a 50mm, technically means it's not 50mm. So the photos I take are closer to 80mm. I forget what it is exactly. It's something like 1.6 times. A crop sensor makes a lens 1.6 times what it is. So I'm pretty sure because this is 50mm, it becomes sort of like an 80mm on my camera. But at the end of the day, that shouldn't stop you. Yes, you're not getting the full frame capabilities of a 50mm, but it's still giving you everything else that it can offer, which is what ultimately has helped improve my skills. It's not that I'm now shooting at 50mm. If I had an 80mm prime lens on a full frame camera, it would have been the same effect. So yes, for beginners, you're not going to get the actual full 50mm. It's going to be cropped, but if you let that stop you, then you're doing photography wrong, in my opinion. We can't all afford full frame cameras straight off, especially as beginners or amateurs, so I still think this lens is great. And then also something to remember is when you do get a camera that is full frame, this is as long as you stay with Canon, obviously, you're gonna still be able to use this, and then you will be able to play around with the full 50mm capability of it. But yeah, super quick video. Just wanted to talk about why this is my favorite lens, especially of 2020, and why I think every photographer really should have one of these. Catch you in the next video. Coffee. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do without a coffee. But yeah.